From Pocketnow.com, this is Pocketnow Weekly.
Guten Tag, and welcome to the Pocketnow Weekly, the once-a-week podcast from Pocketnow.com, where we discuss news and opinion from the world of mobile technology. I'm your host, Michael Fisher, senior editor at Pocketnow.com, and I'm joined by managing editor and temporary roommate, Anton D. Nodge. Hey, Rumi.
Hallo und herzlich willkommen. Herr Michael.
Ja, stimmt.
Ja, das natürlich. Wo bist du? Wie geht's?
Oh, sprechen Sie English?
Nein.
Scheiße.
We should probably bleep that out.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, listeners, as you may have noticed, this episode is a little different. We don't have a third party on the air with us. It's just Tony and me today. We're recording actually in the same room for the first time ever. We're sitting in the same room for the first time, and we started the show with the German greeting, poorly pronounced though it was. And there's a reason for this. If you've been following Pocket Now at all during the past week, or if you follow us on Twitter, which you should do, or if you follow the mobile industry in general, you probably know what it is. Tony and I are in Berlin.
Yes, indeed we are.
That's awesome. And we're covering the annual IFA, or IFA, trade show, which stands for what, Tony?
Internationales Funkausstellung. So it's the exact thing which CES is. It's a consumer electronics show, but I think the IFA stands for their appropriate German words.
The acronym. Okay. You will always pronounce it better than I will, even though it's incomplete. It's an event that the big manufacturers attend to make major announcements and unveil new products, and we've had no shortage of those this time around. So the thing is, what we have had a shortage of, indeed, oddly, for a tech show, a shortage of internet connectivity. It's been a ridiculous, enormous challenge trying to stay connected this trip.
You remember you and I talked about this, that maybe carriers should improve their coverage, but we said that maybe they think this is a tech show and everybody brings their own internet. Well, guess what? We don't.
No.
And we still rely on you carriers, but you keep on failing.
And it was a little ridiculous because you were playing the... you were defending the carriers. I'm sitting there, like, we're waiting in line. We're walking into the conference venue, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. I can't even check in on Foursquare because there's too much, there's too much traffic on the network, right? And Tony's like, well, it's hard. And I'm like, well, I know it's hard.
But it shouldn't be. Yeah.
It shouldn't. Bring in a cell on wheels. This is a tech show.
They'll probably not invest that much in improving the coverage or the strength of the signal, because it's a show which happens every, once a year, and maybe they think that for those 5 or 6 days it is not worth it to invest, even though it should be, because the Messe, the trade center, is used for many shows.
Right, exactly. They should. I feel like they should have a cell on wheels or several, maybe a fleet of the. But whatever. We don't run a network. This is why we don't run a carrier, right? Who knows? Sure. But we've had a great adventure finding prepaid data solutions.
that it was.
By the way, prepaid data is not is not cheap, and it's not efficient,
and it's not fast either.
It's not fast. No, there's nothing good about it. And even the hotel Wi-Fi has been horrible.
Hotel Wi-Is are never good. I actually had one single exception, which was last year at MWC in Barcelona. The internet upload speeds were like 35 megs. So they were huge.
Oh God, that would have been great.
Jaime, our old man back in Honduras, can tell you that, of course, this year, staying at the same hotel, internet sucked. So they probably realized that it was too good to be true last year, and they just throttle it.
Yeah. It's kind of amazing, listeners, to watch what happens as we deal with different kinds of traffic here. We'll start uploading a YouTube video, as you have probably seen over the past week. We've had like 20, and for the first 2 minutes the upload's going great, and then something happens on the network that's like,
it stops.
Yeah, there's some kind of bot working that's like, oh, you're uploading a video, you wait all night then.
Yeah.
And everyone else, like on Facebook, can do what they want.
And of course, if you have the time to start it again, it's okay if it stops 1 or 2 times. When it stops the 14th time, you just start pulling your hair.
Yeah, just really start parading angrily through the streets of Berlin. So anyway, That's why we're not being joined by a third party on the podcast. That's why we don't have Brandon or Joe or Jaime or anyone. There's just not enough data to support a call. So, but you know what? It's all right. It's the roommate hour on the Pocketnow Weekly, and we're going to talk about IFA or IFA and. There was news from elsewhere in the mobile world this week. Like, the world doesn't stop when a trade show happens. Absolutely. But as we were just talking about before we went on the air, like the pace of trade shows is so fast. As I have found out about, this is my first one, that it's very hard to realize that there is still a world out there where stuff is happening. And so we're just going to cover on this broadcast, this special episode, products that were announced at IFA.
Yeah.
And that we got our hands on.
I'm so jealous. I have never had the chance to attend an Apple keynote. When Steve Jobs was there, I wish I would have seen him. I'll probably... Okay, let's not be pessimistic. I will see Tim Cook on stage, but
yes.
What I'm getting at is that Apple is not present at any trade shows. They make their own events.
Right.
And this is why we will probably not cover iOS in this episode of the podcast. So if you're a diehard iOS fan, still bear with us just to see what's going on. But if you just can't go through the Android news, then it is fair for us to say click away. But do tune back in next week when we will have a normal podcast.
Unless you just like listening to our dulcet tones.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can do any accent now. We can even do German accents.
Is it German?
German.
Yeah. And also, stay tuned, and if you hear the distinctive German police car siren out our window, it's because we have our window open. Our hotel room is about the size of the sound booth I usually record in.
Welcome to Europe.
No, it's great. So let's hop in here. We have a lot to talk about. There's been a lot that has happened, and the first thing that it's kind of the smaller news, so we'll hit that real quick. Is the Windows Phone news. We never do Windows Phone first, so this is kind of exciting.
Yeah, we want to just get rid of it. No.
No,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Of course.
I'm kidding. Unfortunately, there was no Windows Phone news at IFA, none at least worth mentioning of. But there will be a special event coming up actually this week. Mm-hmm. It's 2 days away from now, depending on how we can upload this podcast. So we're recording, by the way, on the 3rd.
Yes.
So if you guys see this going up on the 4th, you will probably notice that we had some problems with the internet. So we were expecting a Nokia Microsoft joint event, and there's lots of speculations about Nokia devices and the Windows Phone consumer-oriented features, Windows Phone 8 to be more specific. There was none such thing at the IFA, at the IFA.
With the exception of the Ativ S, right?
Yeah, which we didn't manage to see. It was a silent press release kind of launch. There was no phone available at the show. It probably was available in the hands of certain people, but we are unfortunately not yet among them. Right.
Yeah. So here's the thing, listeners. The device was not. We did not see it. This is the Ativ S, is what it's called. It's part of the Ativ device family from Samsung. It's brand new, and what it looks like, if you haven't checked out, we've had a couple stories on it. I think did we break this one? No, somebody else broke it.
Yeah, I think that it was The Verge a couple of hours before a special Samsung event.
Yes, it was. So regardless, it's a Windows Phone 8 device. It looks like it's rocking a 4.8-inch HD Super AMOLED display.
And it resembles the Galaxy S3.
It looks a lot like the Galaxy S3, except it's running Windows Phone 8, which is pretty hot for anybody who's wanted some really intense Windows Phone hardware.
Which was the other one, which was the Galaxy S2 running Windows Phone? Was it the Focus S?
Oh, the Focus S, yeah. Because the Focus 1 was like the Galaxy S for Windows Phone, then the Focus S was the Galaxy S2. Yeah, so that's what this thing looks like, and we're kind of looking at pictures of it right now, and it looks like a Samsung phone.
Exactly, that's the way to describe it. It's another phone, but what I really like about it, it's back.
Yeah,
it's just nice. It's interesting. We're talking about design, we're talking about looks, and we're not talking about the Windows Phone operating system itself, which is the big boom. But we don't know much about Windows Phone 8 because Microsoft wouldn't tell us, the world, not us specifically. So we're looking forward to that Nokia Microsoft event. Maybe we will see what they are up to.
Yeah, we've heard some leaks regarding that. Yeah, the Ativ S I'm looking forward to seeing. But the cool thing is that what you started the segment off with was this Nokia 920 and 820 leaks. There have been some leaks for at least the Nokia 920 is a PureView branded device, or is maybe a
fingers
PureView,
crossed.
Yeah, branded device. But what I've seen. Earlier today, I saw another leak indicating that maybe that might be an 8-megapixel sensor on that instead of any kind of PureView rated thing, and that the PureView branding will be attached because they've come up with some kind of image stabilization or something that'll make it better than a normal camera.
I'm not excited, and you know why? It's not because I love Nokia. I'm a fan of Nokia design and quality, but just look at the 800. The 900, and even the predecessor, the N9. They had Carl Zeiss optics, and the picture qualities was just bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the software. I don't want to blame Windows Phone, because Windows Phone is a neat little platform. So
and the Focus took good pictures.
Absolutely.
For its day.
So if they don't do PureView, they need to come up with something really huge to be on par with at least Android phones, because currently, right now, on Windows Phone, there's no phone which can be on par with current Android offerings. Not to mention the iPhone 4S, which is on par with the Galaxy S3.
We shouldn't forget that, just in a spec sheet way, that the HTC Titan 2, right, which is that big 16 megapixel
megapixels, but still the image quality
wasn't good. Yeah, I know. We should just throw it out there. But by the way, I understand, listeners, that we are breaking our own rule that we're only supposed to be talking about IFA stuff. But this is kind of related to the Berlin trip in a way, because Tony has been taking. You may recall that Tony is the one who reviewed the Nokia PureView 808. And Tony's been taking it all around Berlin as we've kind of walked around. We've done some sightseeing, and I have had occasion to use for the first time in my life the PureView 808. And,
was it the first Symbian?
And no, I have my Star Trek communicator phone. It runs Symbian, but it was one of the first Symbian phones. But I had just have fallen in love with this 808, which I sort of half expected to. By the way, that's the mattress that we keep leaning on. Sorry about the creaking. But I just adore it. And I'm sitting there with Tony yesterday. We're drinking coffee on the banks of the river
Spree.
The river Spree. God, I'm such an American. The river Spree. And I'm just playing with this PureView and looking at the footage that we got and the stills. And it's such a beautiful phone in a hardware sense. It produces beautiful images. And I said, my next phone is going to be a Windows Phone 8 with PureView technology, and from Nokia. And if they release this thing that it's really not PureView, if it's just PureView in name, I'm going to be really, really disappointed.
You and many others, me among them, if I say this, it's okay to have mid-range phones and even not flagships necessarily, but high-end phones on the market. But if Nokia really wants to pull this off after 1.5 years and being close to anonymous, I mean, don't get me wrong, Nokia is great. They wanted to do Windows Phone because they didn't want to be an anonymous Android OEM. They're kind of just one of those Windows Phone OEMs. So there's nothing special about, okay, design aside, you can't say that they are up 2 or 3 or 4 notches.
Right. The apps are not, the special Nokia apps and the design really isn't enough now.
That adds to the service, to the experience, but what really could put them ahead of everybody else is a PureView technology.
Agreed.
Even if it's not going to be a 41 megapixel hump at its back, because they don't want to do that, but go with a 16, 15 megapixel sensor. Do, instead of from 8 pixels to 1 super pixel, just do from 4 pixels to 1 super pixel, and just deliver that imaging quality for our Windows Phone users. They want nice pictures.
Yeah, they do. And we were up at the top of a 200 and something meter tower yesterday.
Indeed we were.
And Tony's taking pictures out the window of Berlin at altitude, and you just, I mean, everybody knows this already. I know this isn't new news, but like, you take this picture and you just zoom in, and you can,
losslessly.
And it's not like you can look through people's bedroom windows from 200 meters, but it's effectively like you could see a seagull on their roof or a mouse on their roof. I mean, it's incredible. So Anyway,
we're such fanboys.
We are huge fanboys. I mean, no, you've made me a fanboy. but I don't worry. I brought Tony an HP Veer from the States, so I'm working on him from the dead OS angle.
You don't have to work that hard. I love it.
I'm glad.
I finally discovered the Palm/HP devices now that they're dead.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, welcome to 2009.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, let's move on here. We've got Windows 8 to talk about.
A lot to talk about.
We do, because Windows 8 was the big deal at this year's IFA. Especially personally for me, who's just I'm just kind of burned out on Android tablets by and large. I don't want to say I'm burned out on all of them, but I'm, there are a lot of Android tablets out there. Until recently, there have not been a lot of Windows 8
No.
and now that's changed. It's an exciting platform.
They're flooding us.
Yeah, and Microsoft is betting its future on it, so I understand why it's a big deal. So certainly, I think the most visible announcement in this domain came from Samsung, with that Ativ brand we were talking about before, which took us a while to learn how to pronounce right, and I still don't know if I'm doing it right. The Ativ Smart PC and Ativ Smart PC Pro. We did hands-ons on all these, by the way, guys. Just to let you know, if you haven't seen the videos, you should check them out. So the differences between these two tablets, they're both, what are they, 10.1 inch?
Yes, it's the difference in resolution.
Okay.
It's a difference in processing power. Mm-hmm. But design-wise, they're pretty much the same, except for the fact that the Pro is much, much thicker, which you'd expect normally from a tablet which is addressing the prosumer or businesses.
Professional market, yes.
Yeah. But overall, I like the tablets, and I like the fluidity of Windows 8. I love that Microsoft brought that buttery smoothness, which was their number one main selling point on Windows Phone 7. They brought it to the desktop, and of course we should mention that the desktop is just an app on Windows 8.
Oh, right, the start screen? Yeah.
Exactly.
It is. But, that's a very good point. And normally, in the past, we would kind of subjectively evaluate a new product based on how smooth it was.
Exactly.
When you picked it up, because you could pick up a low-end Android device and be like, oh, it's jittery all over the place. And
frame rate drops.
Right, and we'll talk about that in a second, actually. But you can't do that with Windows Phone and Windows 8 Plus devices, yes. I feel like. They are all buttery smooth no matter what they're running on. And even the Nokia 610, which you reviewed, was...
That was smooth indeed, and it was the first one to come out with Tango. It had a very slow processor, but I did a comparison of that phone with the LG Optimus 7, which was among the fastest Windows phones out there because it had super fast NAND memory. But yeah, Windows Phone has what it takes, so it's the never-ending reply of fanboys when they are in a flame war. Windows Phone, and yes, Windows Phone doesn't need quad-core or horsepower to deliver that smoothness.
Right.
And this is what they got right.
And yeah, and I agree with you. I'm really glad they ported that to Windows 8. So we've messed around with both of these. I think the Pro one, the most interesting part about the Pro edition for me was that it has a full-size USB port, which is part of the reason for that thickness we were speculating.
And this, I don't understand it. Probably it's not only the USB port which is adding up bulk to the thickness of the device. Probably there's something else inside there. But what if they went with an adapter, like from micro USB or from something smaller, invent something, patent something, and just make it tapered? I mean, holding a 1 centimeter thick brick in my hand,
it's not fun.
It's not fun at all, especially if you have these super slim tablets like the Nexus 7, not to mention the iPad. It's a bit on the thick line. But by the way, Michael, tell me, how does it feel to use a stylus on a Windows operating system?
Oh, yeah. I remember doing that.
With the small buttons there in Microsoft Word on a 10.1 inch.
So, yeah, when you hop into the regular desktop, if you're not in the start screen environment, you hop into the regular, sorry about the traffic noise, you hop into the regular Windows desktop, and it's like, you need that stylus so bad. But even with the stylus, with a screen at this resolution, if you're in Microsoft Word and you're trying to bold some text, you're using some of those toolbar buttons up top. It's
or just find that small arrow which gives you the list of fonts.
Right. Yeah. It's almost, well, it's not impossible certainly, but it's not very fun. And I understand why the start screen is going to be so crucial to Windows moving forward.
And you don't have to grow fingernails and make them acute.
Yeah. But it's cool because Windows 8 is adaptable, right? Like you don't have to use it this way. I think the Ativ and Ativ Pro both have the keyboard dock available, right?
At least
is that right?
Yeah, they do have.
Yeah.
Indeed, they
So you
are.
can plug them into a keyboard dock, and then you have, you've got both touch control and physical key control.
There's also pros and cons of the keyboard. Of course, there's no doubt about it. It adds a huge speed and it gives you functionality, and it might give you also extended battery power if it has a battery pack which is constantly charging your tablet.
Right.
But then again, it will be like you would be carrying a notebook.
It makes it like it's carrying a notebook.
Adds bulk to it.
It does.
Whenever you maybe just want to hold the screen and that's it and have nothing else with you. But yeah, it's good to have that.
It gives you an option. Yeah, I think that's going to be the deciding factor on whether Ultrabooks or whatever they're calling these hybrid convertibles
Not convertibles. Convertibles is a term, if I know right, that Microsoft uses for those of their slates which either swing or have that swivel which pops open the keyboard. I think this is just
just an accessory.
They can't call them transformers because there's already lots of buzz about that. But
right.
let's go with an accessory thing.
Or a hybrid. Hybrid will work. Yes. Anyway, whatever. They were very visible. The Ativ brand is anytime a big brand like Samsung launches a new kind of smaller sub brand. It can be big news. I think Ativ is going to be definitely. I think they're going to try and make it as big as the Galaxy brand has been for Android. So
and I wish they will succeed.
Me too.
For both of their things, Microsoft's and Samsung's and ours.
Yeah. No, agreed. But it's not the only one. Just because it's the most visible. Sony had a big event that Tony and I both attended.
Yeah.
We saw he was the CEO of Sony.
Which was good.
Speak, which was
never
fun.
Seen him.
I had never seen him speak before. And Sony pushed their Vio Duo 11. And this is the one that we leaked.
What was your first thought when you seen the either leaks or the official presentation? And I'm specifically referring to the way Sony is dealing with the swiveling out of the keyboard.
Yeah, so listeners, what the deal is with this Vio Duo 11 is it's another hybrid / not convertible, whatever, where it's a tablet and then it like the what was that HTC smartphone that did the HTC Tilt?
Yes.
AT&T called it.
Yeah, the Titan 2.
It was the first Titan 2.
Yeah.
So what happens is it slides just like that phone. It's a landscape slider that slides, and then you can pull the screen up so that it resembles a laptop at a very, at an obtuse angle. It sits, and
if it weren't having the keyboard attached, it would look exactly like the Surface.
Exactly. It looks very much like the Surface. What I thought about this when I got my hands on it, I didn't think about it much when we leaked it, but I got my hands on it after the Sony announcement, and it certainly seemed to be very impressive. It was going to have the wind taken out of its sails in about 8 hours for me, but we'll get to that in a second. But I was like, okay, that's cool, that's innovative. It has this little kind of innovative hinge that props it up back there, and it feels reasonably sturdy.
Let me drop this question
feel?
on you. We will have lots of Windows 8 tablets.
Yeah.
What do you think will be the differentiator among OEMs? I mean, there will probably be many without a keyboard, many with a keyboard, so keyboard will just not consider that as a differentiator. But as Nokia differentiates with Drive and services, what would Sony offer me to buy their Windows 8 tablet in the detriment of Samsung's, for instance? Is it only a brand recognition thing, or will they add some more? Or
it better not just be a brand recognition thing, because I'll tell you, Sony, in the United States has meant less and less as the years have gone on, and certainly.
Indeed.
And I think it's going to be hardware. I think we're seeing in Windows Phone what we started to see in or what we've wanted to see for so long in Android, which is this kind of thing where like, okay, the software is going to be unique across, the same across all the platforms, and the hardware is going to be the lone differentiator. Of course, in Android we haven't seen that yet because OEMs keep putting these really elaborate skins on it.
With Windows 8 and the tablets, I think we see two general trends, and I'm not specifically talking about RT with ARM processors and full Windows 8 with Intel/AMD, but I think AMD is in the game, but we're yet to see an AMD-powered Windows 8 tablet. So that could also how do you say that in English? When separate the waters, or clear the waters?
Stir the waters?
No, draw the line between fans of Intel processors and AMD processors.
Yeah.
But
that's only like a 1% of the market, though, right? You know? It's like the
We'd like to see what we're getting at slowly here is that we'd like to see anybody offering something special besides build quality, besides something which will probably end up as being standardized specifications. Probably the same Windows 8 tablet from different manufacturers will have closely similar specifications. They will not be able to juggle too much with that. But I want something specific. I want proprietary apps. I want free apps. I want free offerings. I want services. I want them to offer me something so that as an incentive for me to buy their tablets beyond the fact that they are Sony or Samsung or whomever else and whatever comes as a conclusion out of this in terms of hardware specs and build quality.
Sure. And I think that's a question that's been asked in other generations of products too, but I was too young. When my family was buying desktop computers, for example, I know the market is quite different in mobile, but it's in some ways it's also very much the same. You know, I think my family certainly shopped on price. And as a result, we often suffered in our computing choices, but you know, not always. But so I grew up with, and I wonder if this will be the case, because I grew up with the Compaq brand, which HP purchased, but I was very loyal to Compaq simply because I was familiar with it. And I wonder how many of these brands bank on that.
Yeah,
know?
And you know what I hope I will never see? And those who purchased Windows, I was about to say Windows phones, those who purchased Windows PCs know this. Windows PCs usually come with a platform and a ton of bloatware, like from Norton System Security to McAfee to every possible and impossible trial and shareware application an OEM can think of. I hope it will not be the case with Windows 8.
Me too.
Mobile PCs / tablets.
And it started to happen in phone platforms as well. And then this time it's the damn carriers. But anyway, that's another matter entirely. But I agree. Speaking of, though, there are still differentiators here. Acer is another company that brought us some hardware with the Iconia, the W510 and the Acer Iconia W700. These are two, once again, Windows Phone 8 tablets. These ones are a little different. You know, they have this kind of the tablet build to them, but they're made of some kind of polycarbonate. I don't want to say they are polycarbonate because I'm not sure if that's correct, but they definitely felt very different.
Felt like the HTC One X in hand.
It did a little bit, or the PureView 808, except lighter. And they weren't, and I meant to say this about the Samsung Ativ, they didn't feel like a stretched out Galaxy S3. Which is not the last time I'll say that on this podcast too, because Samsung has decided for their kind of like hardware design that they want to go with this really light feel in the hand with really glossy plastic. That is not what this Acer device is. Either one of these, the 510 or the 700.
And if you check out the specs, we get back to what we talked about a couple of minutes ago. There are two main trends, like for instance, take screen resolution. This W510 is a slower tablet, but it has the same resolution as the Samsung Ativ Smart PC, not the Pro one. So we'll see two trends, lower end and higher end, probably consumer and prosumer / business orientation. So they're standardizing the specifications, which I don't know whether it's a requirement by Microsoft or they're just going with what they think the other guys are doing right. And as you'll see, the W700, which is the other one, is on par with the Smart PC Pro from Samsung. So it's in the higher end range.
Head to head.
Which, by the way, has a rather nice dock to it.
Just with the W700?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't manage to figure out exactly whether it will be that useful to have that dock.
So it's weird. Like it's like an L-shaped dock. Okay, it lays there on the desk. It sits there at an angle, and
you slide it in.
Right. You drop the tablet into the lower rail, and then slide it to the left and lock it into the upright rail, which contains what, a USB port,
a charging port, and probably an audio out. Even though the tablet's speakers are on the lower edge.
Yeah.
And this, how should we call it?
This dock, yeah.
This dock is cut out so that the speakers, the tablet's own speakers, manage to get sound, and sound is directed towards you. So sound doesn't go down to the table, but it comes like from a tube.
It's like a gutter runoff tube. Yeah, the sound like spills out of the speakers, comes down, and gets rotated and blasted out toward your face. That seemed cool. I was wondering if it was a demo dock at first, because it certainly doesn't look really polished enough to be a consumer dock.
But hopefully it will be an optional accessory, and people will manage to decide whether they buy that or not.
Exactly, yeah.
But in terms of usability and fluidity, we don't even need to mention this. I think we'll say this a couple of times, but then we'll stop mentioning it. They all perform the same.
They do.
And they perform well. So don't get me wrong. They're fluid. They're almost instant, is what you'd expect from software and hardware to work together nowadays.
Yes, and it's not like we had any occasion to run any benchmarks or any of that kind of stuff. But in UI, which for me is one of the most important aspects of a device, all the Windows 8
go with a quick rant?
Of course.
I remember back in the day, I'm already talking like an old guy, when we attended shows, devices on display were not locked into a demo mode. You could go to the Google Store or to a marketplace and buy a benchmark application and fondle and play with the settings and do side-by-side comparisons. Nowadays, you pick up a tablet, you can go into settings, you can probably launch an application or two, but they are locked in demo mode. So it's something which I don't think is good, because, of course, this was a consumer show, so probably it was to avoid people messing the tablet up.
Running up thousands of dollars in app purchase bills.
But whenever we have hands-on with either an Android tablet or an Android phone, which will be coming up later, and I think this is... Are we transitioning towards Android?
No, I have a very important thing.
I'm finish my rant.
Please do.
I want to run a benchmark. I want to see how it goes, aside from just launching the... email application simultaneously on two devices.
Right,
rant. But this is sorry, Windows folks. This was a rant which turned out to be more Android oriented than.
I would have totally let you run with it, but there's something very important that I have to use to close up Windows 8. Toshiba was not.
Toshiba.
What did I say?
Toshiba.
Yeah, my old roommate used to say it like that. I don't know why I picked that up just now. Spend a week in Germany, folks. Your pronunciation will get all crazy. No, but what was their story?
Toshiba had a Windows 8 convertible. Yeah. It doesn't have a detachable keyboard. And if you guys remember...
Tell them why we're not covering that.
The Sony Tablet S, is that... No, this wasn't the which one was that? There's so many devices. It was the Sony Vaio Duo 11, the one which resembles the Surface. That doesn't have a necessarily a detachable keyboard, but we covered it because it resembles too much the Surface with that angling of the screen. But okay, back to the topic. If you guys remember, Brandon Miniman, our editor-in-chief, posted something on Pocketnow regarding our policy of running with Windows 8 and Windows RT coverage. The differentiating factor, the deciding factor on whether we cover a tablet or not, is that whether it has a detachable keyboard or not. If it has a detachable keyboard, you can just grab the screen part, the tablet itself, then we'll cover it. If it's screwed with screws to the keyboard itself, or it swivels, if it is not detachable, we'll just treat it as a laptop / netbook / ultrabook /
which is not our
scope. So just a heads up for you guys.
So that's why we spent some time looking at that from Toshiba, I think, but we didn't.
Functionality wise, I can tell you that much is quality is as what you'd expect from Toshiba. Probably the price point will be as what you'd expect from Toshiba, super high. It runs smooth, it has a great screen, but we didn't do a hands-on because what we just told you.
So, but it's not the last time. If you're a Toshiba fan, don't worry, we will mention them again.
I know you can't wait to get to this.
You know topic, I can't wait. So I'm so jealous.
Bring it on.
All right, so here's what happened. So Tony and I had this big day at the press conference at the trade show, and Tony wasn't feeling well. I mean, we were both, bless you, completely exhausted. And Tony was like, I really don't feel good, so he had to go home. I was like, okay, I'm going to go to this event. There are so many events at these trade show listeners, and some of them occur after hours.
And some of them are an event you want to go every day to, and some of them are events you want to go every year or two.
Right, right. So this one, I was like, yeah, I'll go. I know, yeah, stay home, it'll be fine. I'll go and I'll cover it. And I didn't expect there to be much of anything. I expect there to be a bunch of accessories. And
because let's mention that we had not a pleasant surprise with a previous event.
Right.
And we said, if it's anything like that was, okay.
We were all amped because we thought we were going to see some really, really hot stuff. And then it turned out to be a lot of, cool accessories, but you don't go to trade shows necessarily to see accessories, yeah. Right? So maybe that's not true, but we don't. Anyway, so point is, I went, didn't have a camera with me, just had myself, and I thought I would just meet some people and hang out. And I did, and it was a lot of fun. And I saw the HP table there, and HP and I, of course, have nothing personal against each other. HP certainly doesn't think about me, but But
you do think about HP.
Once in a while, with the whole WebOS debacle. I mean, there was some bad blood on my end there until I started working for Pocketnow, and I kind of had to become unbiased. And I've been working hard at doing that. I just wrote a piece about that today. So I didn't want to stop by the table, but I was like, well, it's HP. I should go stop by and see what they've got. And I see a table that's decked out with a bunch of laptops and notebooks. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm going to walk away. Thank you, guys. But I see this one out of the corner of my eye that looks too small to be a laptop. Something's different about it. And it looks like a MacBook Air 11. I will say that. That's what it looked like to me. And I was like, well, what's that? And I'm blanking on his name like an idiot.
The HP Envy X2.
Yes, the HP Envy.
It's like a
X2.
tongue twister, but at least for me. But yeah, it's the X2, the Envy X2.
That's what the product name. What the product name was.
You said it resembles the MacBook Air, but imagine the MacBook Air with much rounded corners. Still the same chiclet keyboard that I should mention. It was the first thing I noticed about the tablet. I said, hey, Michael, look at this. HP's using Apple's keyboard. So
exactly. Yeah, that was the first thing you said when you saw the video.
Joke aside,
yeah.
I like it, but you go on.
What happened was... one of the friendly guys at HP was showing me this thing, and he pulled the screen off the thing, okay? He pulled the screen off of the keyboard dock, and I didn't think that was possible, and it kind of blew my mind because the thing looked so good together. It looked like a really well-built, small Ultrabook. And he pulls the screen off, and it becomes this tablet that looks great also, standing alone. Just looking at the tablet, you'd never know that it plugged into the dock. And that itself is not necessarily unique, but the build quality overall... This thing is made of aluminum. The dock is aluminum. The tablet is aluminum. It's got this. It's 19 millimeters thick when it's closed. As an integrated unit. But the tablet.
You mean when it's connected and
when it's connected,
the lid
yes.
is closed.
Yeah, when it's connected and the lid is closed, and it's 8.5 millimeters thick as a tablet. So it's very thin. It's tapered at the edges. It feels amazing in the hand, and all of a sudden, and it runs Windows 8. I mean, we're still in the Windows 8 section, so. 11.6 inch display. It's a 400 nit panel, so it's really, really bright. There are 2 full-size USB connections in the dock. There's ports on the tablet. There's micro SD expansion on the tablet and full SD on the dock. There's a touchpad with gesture recognition on it. So basically, you can read the specs. I've written about this enough already. It's only been a couple days, but I'm so in love with this device, and I basically told Tony. When I came back, I was like, I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. I kept waiting for there to be something I didn't like about it. And the more the HP guys talked, the more I liked it. And so this was announced just a couple days ago. I had no camera on me, so I had to shoot the hands-on video with an HTC One X. I really should have brought the PureView like Tony suggested I do. But at any rate, we captured the video. HP was so nice to me to come out in the hallway there and kind of just show me this thing for 5 minutes, and they were really wonderful. So the only thing we kind of don't know is release. We know this is coming later in the year, and pricing. Pricing is going to make or break this thing.
Should be on par with others.
Unless they sell it as an Ultrabook,
Yeah, and this in case HP really wants to be somebody in the Windows 8 OEM business.
Yeah. That was my position today. I was like, wow, this could really be HP's play to contend with Surface, because Surface is going to just wreck. I mean, it's going to disrupt at least the third-party manufacturer ecosystem.
Yeah, of course, but it will also depend on whether the screen will be as good as the screen on the X OEM-made tablet. It doesn't always necessarily come down to the price. The Nexus 7, I have an Nexus 7 and we're transitioning, that's why I'm right now talking about Android. I have an Nexus 7 finally. Michael brought me one from the States. I confiscated it. It's a great tablet. It's a cheap tablet, but the screen on that thing is just terrible. It basically doesn't have a red. It has something which is undefined between pink and magenta. Or my eyes are not that good anymore at 150 years of age. But
your eyes are fine.
no, what I'm trying to say here that Microsoft could be successful with the Surface beyond the price point if they included. And I think the hardware department inside Microsoft always did a good job, so I don't think it will be bad. The question is, how much better will the other tablets and offerings be?
Right. And that's
even though if they will probably be somewhat more expensive, how much better will that be to justify the price difference?
And I think that's a solid point, and that's why I was so impressed by this excellent build quality. But
just a short thought to wrap up Windows 8. I love what they did. I love what Microsoft is showing, and I definitely look forward to having many of these devices on the market. And this is a small insert rant here. Hope not too many, because diversity is always good. I just hope we'll not see a flood of Windows 8 powered slates, tablets, just like we see a truckload of Android phones in a truckload of OEMs.
Yes.
Probably quantity will kill somewhat quality. I know the top dogs will still remain.
Yeah, the cream will rise to the top.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah. But I agree. Yeah, I mean, and speaking of a flood of Android devices, we saw our share of it, obviously. But predictably, I mean, of course, there's going to be a huge number of these at any trade show. But the biggest among these, the most anticipated, the one I am already tired of talking about, not really, the Galaxy Note 2. What a weird thing. Not the Note 2 itself, but the whole Galaxy Note...
concept.
Yeah, concept. I mean, the initial Note comes out. We, in the tech media, a lot of us, certainly kind of like look at it and it's like, okay.
We either love it or hate it.
Right.
We mostly hated it.
Yeah, exactly. And either love it or hate it. Everyone had a degree of kind of like... Really? This is what you're... Okay. And then it goes on and sells like way more than anybody expected.
Boom.
You know, and it's like, wow, okay, there's a market for this. People really want this big thing that we've come to call a phablet, right? Which initially was a derogatory term and then became not one as it became successful. So anyway, the Galaxy Note 2 is highly anticipated. I don't think it was a secret from anyone that this thing was going to be announced.
Absolutely.
I mean, everyone expected this thing to be announced. And then it was announced, and we got our hands on it, and, you know, I don't know really what to say. It's a Galaxy Note that's, you know, bigger yet smaller.
Indeed.
Right? It has a bigger display, but the casing size is actually a little bit more manageable.
And strangely, the bezel is not that thin as you'd expect, so you can still comfortably hold it while not touching accidentally on the screen
on the
itself.
Display. Yes. Yeah, exactly. And the S Pen has been redesigned.
Indeed.
With a different tip so that writing on the glass screen isn't quite as slippery. It supposedly feels a little more like ballpoint pen on paper. I didn't really find that, but I didn't have too much time with it on our various visits. We were testing out features more than that. The most striking thing to me was that they've changed their design language, which we should have expected, to coincide with the Galaxy S3. And you know, I mean, it's not my favorite hardware, so I didn't really like the change all that much. I like it better than the original Note, which I found to be very blocky and clunky. And
I agree with you.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask you is that you handled it more than I did.
Yeah.
Did you get the same slimy, sleamy feeling of its back, like it's gonna slip from your hand or from your table, even if you blow on it?
It kind of feels exactly like the same back as the Galaxy S3. Yeah. With that, I think there's hyperglaze on it. I don't know. That's not.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's confirmed.
Probably some love it, some don't. But if you have either greasy hands or just normal usage, it becomes so slippery. And don't forget, guys, this thing is bigger, much bigger than the S3. So if you have problems holding the S3 or holding on to the S3, S3, you'll have even more problems with this one.
It's not the one for you if that's the case. And we did a little comparison video between the S3 and the Note 2, which was fun. I usually, comparison videos can be hit or miss for me, but I think we found some fun stuff to talk about with it. One thing, there's a lot that I actually do like about that. I don't want to sound like I'm dogging this unit, because I do like it. There's a 3100 milliamp hour battery in this thing.
And it should be.
Yeah.
With that screen, it should be.
Yeah, I mean, the original Note had a 2500 milliamp hour battery, though, right? So it's...
And still the life was good on it.
And still better, yeah. And it's got the new, the TouchWiz Nature UX with a couple improvements to the camera in there. There's this cool thing called Air View, where if you hold the stylus over the screen, you hover the stylus over the screen without contacting the screen, you can see a little dot, a little cursor where the phone knows the stylus is. So just practically speaking, in daily use, you can see, that's convenient. But also, they've implemented it in interesting ways, like in the video player, where you can go down to the scrubber and hold the stylus over the progress bar, yes. And without advancing the video continues at its normal rate, but you can see preview windows of what's coming up. So there's little implementations like that are cool. You can hover over the calendar and see your daily appointments without clicking on it.
And let's not forget, this is running Jelly Bean. And also, let's not forget that together with the Galaxy S3, the Galaxy Note 2 are currently the fastest Android phones money can buy on this planet.
Yes.
It has a super fast quad-core Exynos processor. It's got a ton of RAM. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily faster than the Galaxy S3, even though the S3 is yet to receive the highly anticipated Jelly Bean update. We were probably expecting that one too to happen here. There were leaks that it will go down on the 29th. It didn't, not to our knowledge. We're still expecting it, but still, either one of these two, if you don't like the phablet experience, go with the S3. It's a super fast phone. If you want the stylus, the huge screen, and you want to be cool, because I think that now having a phablet is cool. It's
depending on the circles you travel in, right? Yeah. It's and depending on how big your hands are.
Indeed.
And that's always the case with any phablet.
So you can wholeheartedly buy any one of these. You will not be disappointed.
Yeah, and I think we're probably expecting, while we're kind of rampantly speculating, we're pretty much expecting this to drop, an announcement to be made on this in the next couple days, right, for US.
Yes, at least that's what we think it will be.
Yeah.
Anyways, I just hope now, circling back a little bit to the specifications. Do you think that they will cut down the Exynos quad core to a Snapdragon just to get LTE like they did with the S2, or will they probably include a chip to offer both quad-core and LTE? That will be the perfect solution, but somehow I think you guys in the States will still get the dual-core processor with the LTE functionality, even though I hope this is not going to be the case.
I think that'll be the case too, unless the S4 Pro is ready?
Yeah, but by the way, we expected that from LG with the Optimus G, that was nowhere to be found.
Right.
So, and I don't think Samsung will ever go with the third-party CPU or SoC manufacturer. Yeah. They have their Exynos.
And they shouldn't, and the Exynos is great, right?
They just need to figure it out how to have the best of both worlds. People want the quad-core speed, and they want, of course, your LTE speeds.
And I tell you what, I will go on record as still saying right now, in late 2012, that you give me dual-core with LTE anytime. I cannot sacrifice LTE connectivity living in the United States, having had it.
Now that you've seen the fast internet in Germany.
Oh, dear God, yeah. Having dealt with this supposedly fast HSPA over here, but no, I mean, these are special circumstances. I'm not. But really, LTE is so critical, especially to the carriers in the States now, who are so overloaded on their 3G networks that it's not even funny, with the exception of, T-Mobile, who has plenty of spectrum, I think. But I think we'll definitely see a dual-core CPU with LTE. It'll probably be the Qualcomm, the Snapdragon S4. That we see everywhere.
1.5, something like that.
And it'll run fine. The Galaxy S3 runs fine on it right here.
Jelly Bean is fast.
Jelly Bean is really fast. I've had enough.
Stay glued to Pocket Now. We'll cover it as news, and we're expecting to receive a review unit of the Note 2 soon. We'll have lots of comparisons with everything interesting. So
we'll have it all there. It's just moving past Samsung, the entire Xperia line was was refreshed by Sony at that same Sony event. This was very confusing, okay, guys? You know this if you've watched our hands-ons. We actually shot another hands-on video that didn't even go up. What happened at the Sony event was this. We ran from the Sony CEO's announcement to the show floor.
That's what usually happens at announcements.
Exactly, but we were up front. I mean, we were like some of the first guys to get our hands on the phone, which was great. I loved it.
The same bolt.
Which, by the way, which was ridiculous because I had a microphone tied to my shirt, and then Tony's like trailing behind me with the camera and the cord, like we're a single unit. Anyway. But the sales reps on the floor had a bunch of these cards, these around their necks, these stat cards.
Yeah, just like business cards stacked together with specifications for every phone, not announced, but every Sony phone in history.
Every Sony, yeah, exactly. It's like T68i. No, so like I think maybe some of the reps we talked to, who were all wonderfully friendly and really awesome and super, like would help us out. Got a little confused. We got some wrong information from some of them, and since the phones had just been announced, we kind of weren't examining them terribly closely on the initial hands-on.
And let's not forget that
they look a lot the same.
CEO's keynote didn't necessarily include specifications.
No, it didn't, and the phones look very similar.
Yeah, and
especially when you're rushing through a hands-on.
The letters, I mean,
and this confusing naming, like it's like the Xperia T, the V, the J. It's like I can't even keep the 1X and the 1V and the one, you know.
Yeah, Jaime had a great editorial on all the alphabet. So they should call it not Xperia but Sony Alphabet A, Sony Alphabet B.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So anyway, the point is, we got some mistitled videos up. We did hands-ons of different phones that weren't the phones we thought they were, and then we got specs messed up. So sorry about that.
Yeah, even if you look at the phones, they look the same.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, they're all rectangles.
Beyond the design language. I mean,
yeah, but some of them, you know, whatever. You can actually check all the specs at Pocketnow, but one of the cool ones was the waterproof one.
The ruggedized one, yeah.
Yeah, because there was the T was kind of the flagship model, or the TX was, and then the T was the German specific one, or maybe that's vice versa. And one of them was immersible, and to see a smartphone that is immersible is one ththing. Usually they're really ruggedized and they're big old bricks.
Up to 10 meters. Yeah, that's what they told us. Up to 10 meters. And of course, you won't never go if you're sane.
Yeah.
Scuba diving.
If you're scuba diving to 10 meters, then you're, yeah. But I actually don't know. I'm so reluctant after that giant mess of a spec problem that we had to even talk about these things.
No, we have a saying here. It will give the Caesar what's the Caesar's. So
yeah, no, I know.
Let's say that Sony phones are good. I mean, the Xperia line was good at MWC too. Where Sony failed was to quickly act on updates. And of course, Jaime will disagree with me because his specific review unit cracked 1 week after normal usage. But so probably, I hope it was just one unit out of the millions. But the phones look what you'd expect a Sony phone to look. The Sony specific UI is as you'd expect it to be with their live wallpapers. It's nothing out of the ordinary, and this is what I'm trying to say. It's not like jaw-dropping. It's just another Android phone, and that's it.
And I mean, how long has that been the case? Because you have to talk about the Sony stuff, right? Because I don't, and don't misinterpret me, but I speaking as the average American, I feel like I don't care. Because Sony has failed so hard at making a name for itself in the mobile space in the United States.
Yes, true, but still Sony phones have great camera quality, something which other Androids, not to point now out one or the other, didn't manage to quite achieve. So they have their great points. Let's not forget Sony's a huge company. They're offering also services like music services, proprietary services. They have the record label, so they have the power to do something. It's just that they're probably right now going they're in a valley, just like HTC was.
Well, but their valley, I feel like HTC's valley is a different shape, right? But like Sony's valley has been this long, intense. It hasn't even been a decline. Like they were.
Let's be fair and say it's a steady climb.
Is it?
It's a steady climb, yeah.
I don't know. All right, we'll see about that. I don't hate Sony. It's just that I've never ever been impressed by any of their smartphones that have been widely available.
Probably, let's not forget that they're most of them are Asian companies, yes, but they're specifically Japanese.
Sony?
Yeah, if I recall this well, and if I didn't, don't bring me hate mail. But no, what I want to say is that there's a difference in design language and perception, and it's one thing to be used, you guys in the US, with a Motorola design language or a specific HTC for the USA design language, and it's another thing to have a Sony Japanese phone for Asia and Europe. It's just normal that you guys don't like it that much, but I don't have anything negative to say about Sony, except for the fact that we want more and we want better.
Yeah.
And that's it. I think they stand a chance.
Here's the thing. I just think the only thing I'll say is that I think Sony has this really, really long and proud legacy of making amazing products, and they were one of the companies that inspired Steve Jobs when he was building Apple products. You know, so I mean, I have great respect for the company. It's just in the mobile space, I've just never been wowed. So
they didn't nail it yet.
Yeah, no, and I hope they do. But
this will be a favorite.
Yeah, the company that I feel has gotten it really right in at least one respect, and people already disagree with me about this on Twitter. So,
even me.
And yeah, no, absolutely, not everybody agrees. Is HTC, and I love what they're doing with the One Line. I love what they're doing with their new design language on their new products, and that applies to the Desire X. We saw the Desire X announced and then
Codenamed Proto.
Codenamed the Proto, yes.
Yeah,
we knew it as the much cooler sounding Proto, but now it's the Desire X.
How else to name a prototype?
Who cares? I know, but Proto would have been so much. I would have proudly carried a phone named Proto. Anyway, HTC kind of announced this quietly. It was on display. We did a hands-on on it. It's a mid-range phone. It's got a 1 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon S4. It's got a 4-inch Super LCD, WVGA resolution, by the way. Diesel car outside. 5 megapixel back camera, 4 gigs of internal storage, right? Blah, blah, blah. It's ice cream sandwich, Sense 4.0. It's a mid-range phone.
And that's all it is.
And that's all it is. But you look at the casing of this thing, and it's like somebody named HTC took the 1X and like narrowed it down and slimmed it by about 1/3, so it's about 2/3 the size, and kind of tweaked the design language even further to make it even a little more bold. The lens, the camera lens is big and oversized. Yeah, there's some cool color options. There's a metal bezel around the screen, which is black. It's and this is going to come down to a matter of taste, and I'll just shut up because I'm just being a fanboy about it. Like I think it's a beautiful little device, and of course it's mid-range and it runs Sense, which probably means it's laggy. I think we noticed a little bit of evidence on that on our demo unit.
Probably not final software.
Probably not true. It's too early. This is not a review.
Or everybody just was playing with it all day long.
It's a demo unit that gets abused, right? But in any case, it's a mid-range phone. We're not expecting huge performance out of it, but I would be proud to carry it for a little bit just on the hardware alone, the casing. I really love it.
So, not to disappoint, one hot and one cold. Samsung and HTC are the leading OEMs when it comes to Android. And because of their release cycles, they leapfrog. HTC One X and the One Line in general was announced at MWC in Barcelona in February. That was a good lineup. It was quad-core phone. Then came the Galaxy S3 at the end of May. And immediately the Samsung phone took the first spot, as in the hottest phone, the fastest phone. Now, I expected it to be that, but I also expected to see HTC's next leapfrog. Since they are in counter time, it was HTC's time to move, maybe with the highly anticipated and leaked HTC One X Plus, which never saw the light of day, at least not here.
Not here, not yet.
I expected HTC to respond, but no, they did not. They brought out a Desire X, and what did Samsung do? Bam! Galaxy Note 2.
Galaxy Note 2.
2 steps ahead.
Boom. Yeah.
So I'm really not sure what HTC is waiting for. They're probably waiting a little, wishful thinking here, waiting a little bit for the year to pass, and they'll probably just drop something on us before the holiday season. if they don't this year, there's going to be no other events, major events, and if they wait until MVC 2013, it's going to be bad for them. So I'm just hoping to see something coming out of HTC, which will at least now reduce the gap between Samsung and HTC to only one leapfrog.
Part of me wonders if that was the plan. If the plan was that HTC had this 2011, this thing where they did this Taiwanese thing, which I understand is a Taiwanese kind of a business commonality, to like, oh, we had some success, now we're going to flood the market with a bunch of different variations on models. And then they realized that was a mistake, pulled back. And then I wonder if the strategy was, we're going to do this one line, and we're going to do an improvement on it every year, like say, Apple does, with moderate improvements in the interim. And I wonder if that was the plan.
Still, let's not forget, HTC had like 4 phones last year at IFA. They only had this small, tiny booth, which was like, I'm going to try to play smart here.
This year?
Go feet, yeah. It was like 50 square feet.
Oh,
like 20 square meters, something like that. Small booth.
It was like a teenager's bedroom.
3 demo units. Of course, they're pushing the Beats by Dr. Dre brand. Every phone had headphones attached. But that's it, one phone. And I expected something more from HTC. And I have nothing against them. They do a great job, but bring us more.
I'm a little impatient for more myself. And we'll see what their thing is. But, however...
Who had more?
Yeah, you know who
always have more.
You know who did the opposite thing? Another company the name starts with an H, but is a silent H, is Huawei from China.
And it's not Huawei because I've seen lots of comments. No, this is not a US company, guys. It's not Huawei. It's Huawei.
But it's
or Huawei.
I don't think the H is there.
Guys, is there any Chinese-speaking listener?
If there is a Chinese-speaking listener, we would actually love to hear that. Yes,
an audio file,
please.
Yeah,
that would be awesome. At podcast@pocketnow.com. You should send it, please, or tweet it to us and listen to the info at the end of the podcast. That is a really good idea because we got to put this to bed once and for all.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, the company in question had a huge display at IFA. I think it dwarfed. Besides Samsung, who had a whole like gymnasium, it dwarfed pretty much any other OEM.
It was like 5 times as bigger than HTC, even more.
I think it was probably 8 times as big as HTC. Yeah. So like you're walking through the trade floor, and there's this big white like flower like structure, and large bays of demo phones behind it, and a bunch of wonderful PR people walking around, with smartly dressed, everyone very friendly and very helpful. And under this giant sort of fiberglass white flower were some new devices. And I think, there were 3 phones,
there were 2 tablets and 2 phones. The MediaPad 10 FHD, the MediaPad 7 Lite, and the phones, the S and they were both in the G series, which we recently learned that the G series is a mid-range series and the P is the high-end one.
Right, because good G is gold, P is platinum.
Yes, so the G600 and the G330 plus the update. You can talk about this. You reviewed the phone, the S and the P1. Yeah, the update for the new Emotion UI.
Yeah, so. I'm going to get this right out of the way. The phones are unremarkable.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're mid-range phones. They're Ascend branded as G, like you said, G600, G330. They're not really worth discussing. I don't think there's enough there.
No.
They're just iterative improvements on existing phones.
And it's what ZTE does, and they were not here this year.
Uh-huh. It's the same thing ZTE does?
It's the second manufacturer, and they go like head to head, but they were missing here. It's the same thing. They always bring an army of mediocre towards low-end phones.
Just flooding the market with, we made this. So anyway, the only interesting thing in the phone department from Huawei was this skin that they built for the P1, and we had Michael from Huawei show us give us a walkthrough of this new UI, which they're calling. I always mess it up, and I messed it up in this video too. It's not Imagination UI; it's Emotion UI. Emotion UI.
That was probably my fault because we had a lapsus, both of us, and I was like, "Is it Imagination?" And he said, "Sure," and it stuck to our Cortex.
Seriously, we're cutting the video together, listeners, after the fact, and I'm writing the shell post for it, and I'm like, "Isn't it Imagination UI, right?" And Tony's like, "No, Emotion." I'm like, "Okay." 2 minutes later, I'm like, "Is it Emotion or Imagination?" So anyway,
That's the story behind
That's
that.
the story. The Emotion UI Huawei seems to have built for users who are confounded by the Android experience, who don't like the complicated nature of it, quote unquote complicated nature of Android. So they've built this skin where they've basically eliminated the app launcher.
Yeah.
So you can have as many home screens as you want, and these big friendly looking bubble icons and little folders and stuff, but you have no app launcher. Which is a little weird to me because I kind of always considered the app launcher to be the simplest part of Android, right? So I kind of don't know where they're going with this, but Michael was really cool about telling us about it because he was telling us that Huawei's intent when they built this was to say, all right, we're going to try this, we're going to try and simplify Android, but we're going to pay really close attention to what the users are telling us. Yep, and if the users tell us that this is not something they want, whatever, we will just cut it out. And of course, any company tries to behave that way, but he was really upfront about it. He's like, yeah, this is basically, he basically said this is a test.
If you guys haven't seen the video, please do so on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Pocketnow video. But if you can't right now, I'm sure you've seen MIUI or MIUI, or you call it however you want. This thing looks exactly like that, with the round icons, and it is smooth. And don't get me wrong, it is not sure that it is something that I would personally want to run on my Android phone, but it's a matter of taste.
It is.
So that's not... And of course, there's this included application, which is a tutorial that teaches you how to do stuff like Android users were morons. No, we are power users. You guys are power users. And you tweak, you flash, you do stuff with your phone which a normal Joe would necessarily not even dream about doing. So I'm not sure what the thing is there, but yeah, that's Huawei or
Huawei or
at least the phones, and the tablets are also on the mediocre end.
Oh, the tablet. Yeah, there was something else I wanted to say about this UI, but
I'm sorry. Go on.
I forgot what it was. Don't fight fight all you want in the comments about how it is or is not a ripoff of MIUI. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. But the tablets, like you were saying, follow in the vein.
This is the first iteration, right, of the Emotion UI. So I'm just like in TouchFlow 3D Sense 1.0. I'm curious to see where this goes with version 2 or version 3.
Me too, because Huawei is not going away. They're really
maybe we'll end up
attacking.
porting it to our Samsung devices or HTCs.
Be careful. The Huawei MediaPad, we're going to talk about Android tablets as the last kind of topic of discussion. And as we mentioned, Huawei had brought their MediaPad 10
FHD,
MediaPad 10 FHD, and MediaPad 7 Lite. There was no MediaPad 7 Pro, so I don't know why the Lite was there. But
this one has no sugar.
Right. Yeah, this is the diet. Yeah. So these are what they sound like. They're a 10-inch tablet and a 7-inch tablet.
And our experience with the first one, the 10-inch one, was interesting, and it resembles whatever I went through last year. You tell us, Michael, about the experience with the non-functioning tablet this year, and I will tell you about my story from last
right. So our first day, we roll up to the Huawei booth and we go to this tablet. It's like, oh wow, you guys have a 10-inch. What's going on here? And they brought it out and were very friendly and very apologetic, but they said they didn't have power. We'd have to look at the hardware only, and that was sad.
We shut it, yeah.
And that's when we did the hands-on. And I was like, oh okay, well hopefully they'll get it fixed.
And it happened with me too in last year in I think either IFA or NWC. I'm not sure where, but same company. Tablet, non-functioning one. I know lots of things happen at trade shows, but guys, don't bring one tablet with you to the show floor. Bring at least 5 or 6. Whenever somebody messes the settings up, or the battery dies, or the cable just gets cut off or unplugged.
Spills ice cream on it.
Yeah, just grab another one.
Yeah, and they, to their credit, when we came back a day later, they had not only that one fixed, but they also had other ones on display.
True.
So they fixed it. But yeah, that day one, that was a real disappointment. But the tablet itself, like holding that thing up, and you can see me waving it around in the hands-on like it's a piece of it's a legal pad.
Yeah, how do you call that thing when you're hot and?
Yeah, it's like a hand fan. It's whatever, there's a fancy name for it. I can't think. It's so light. And most tablets, when they're that light, they feel really cheap in that they're flexible. Like the Ativ, you can kind of knock your knuckles on it, and it sounds like a hollow space behind there. It doesn't feel very very high end. But this one was solid. It was just too light. It felt solid, but it was too light to feel like anything but cheap. Like it was like a pad of paper. So,
don't get your hopes up, guys.
No.
This waiting for something to launch on the tablet
yeah,
is something. It's laggy. Probably it's not. We always say this. It's probably not final software, or it's probably not final hardware, or it's probably it was running 5,500 applications in the background. But the way we experienced it is that it is laggy. It is.
It's not as laggy as the 7. The 7 is really the 7's was kind of a disaster, but. Saw it on the software side, but yeah, the 10, that's the 10 and the 7.
Yeah.
That's the story of the Huawei tablets. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we won't. We'll see how that goes. The moving on, a tablet that wasn't quite so underwhelming. Sony has revised their Tablet S, their sort of folded magazine tablet, their weird form factor experiment.
Wasn't that the P?
No, that was the P was that, but the original S had the folding.
The tapered and
it's like, listeners, if you're not familiar with it, it's as if you pulled a magazine open and then folded the front cover around back, and you know how you get that hump where the spine is. Sony built this into their tablet. I never thought it looked very good, but I was like, good, I appreciate new form factors. All right, cool. True. So what they've done, they've rebranded it as an Xperia tablet. And redesigned it slightly so that curve is still present. It suggests the initial design intent, but it is much slimmer, and it makes for a more streamlined device. It's still kind of awkward. It's still a little weird, but it's comfortable to hold. And the really cool thing about it is that it is it's like exposure proof.
Yeah.
Sony had this really cool display at their event where they had this.
Proof.
Yeah, but they had this like 90-degree cutout of a circular display table where some sprinklers were mounted above the devices that were sitting there, and one of them was this Xperia Tablet S, just getting rained on, and water's just sheeting down this thing, and it's not a big bulky rubberized construction tablet. Like, it's really thin and nice. It's just getting soaked, but it didn't care. That was really cool, and I can't wait to see more of that from others.
What I'm more amped about is that the inclusion itself of a tablet in the Xperia line means for Sony exactly what the inclusion of the Asus Nexus 7 means for Google and for the Nexus brand. I mean, they will probably treat this tablet along with their other Xperia phones. They're sometimes excellent, sometimes a little bit behind with software. But it is an Xperia tablet, an official Xperia tablet S, and that's pretty much it as functionality goes. Build quality is good as you'd expect it. Functionality wise, it's not the fastest tablet out there, but it surely gets the job done.
And it's innovative too. Like, it's got this guest mode in the software that I wrote a piece on this, right? Where it's like user accounts. Why aren't tablets given user account settings? And there are third-party apps that do this, but this is built in. It's called guest mode. It lets you restrict certain apps when certain users
or your gallery, for
logged
instance,
in.
if you don't want others to see your pictures.
Exactly. And I mean, I think that's really cool that Sony's bringing that.
What I think is
feature.
Excellent about this tablet is that it will have a 64 gig version, which will still be upgradable with a micro SD card. And those of you who use your tablet for content consumption, which is the main usage, except for I use it only for work, you'll love this one.
Yeah, and
the price point is not that bad either.
How do you just blow by the IR blaster, man? You're not amped about the IR blaster on this thing? Now they've done something that when we've written a piece on it, I think Joe wrote a piece on this where it's like, why are we building IR windows into these super modern tablets and
to control your TV?
Yeah, and that's cool because apparently people do that. So. Whatever. The pricing is not too bad. This is it's $600 for the 64 gig model, so that's reasonable. I wouldn't pay it personally, but if you need a lot of capacity and then expandability on top of that, and you want a tablet that'll withstand something like a rainstorm and that's running a competent OS like Android, I mean it's a solid choice.
And let's not forget that it comes with an accessory, that Surface-like keyboard dock. Which
comes with it?
We'll go for $100.
Oh, okay.
If that's important to you, then you can grab something like that.
Yeah.
It adds functionality. It also adds bulk. Not too much though. So it's something to. I think it's something to look up to.
It is. Do you know how tired I was that day? I don't even remember the keyboard dock. I was so exhausted. As no short amount of commenters have been quick to remind us.
After all,
I looked like crap on camera.
I was after a 14-year all-night drive, and you were like after a 12-hour
flight. Yeah. And then navigating the streets of Berlin. Anyway, this is we want to move on here because we're coming up on our time limit, but we're going to go a little over. This is cool, all right? This isn't new.
This was cool.
This was cool. Exactly. This was cool months and months and months ago. I just wasn't paying attention. So Toshiba released a tablet. No, excuse me. No, that's not right. Toshiba announced a tablet back at MWC.
Yeah.
In frickin' Barcelona in February. And they called it the AT270. Which even the Toshiba guy I talked to admitted was like the most uninspired name ever. Because it's like, it stands for Android tablet. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And they announced it back at MWC, and they are still showing it here at, 6 months later, 7 months later in Berlin.
Exactly what LG did with the Optimus View.
Yes,
you
exactly.
finally saw the View, but I saw it at MVC, still not available.
Also in the Acer Cloud Mobile, same story, I think. So a lot of companies do this. I'm not dogging Toshiba, but the problem is they fooled me, and they didn't do it on purpose. I fooled myself because I didn't know enough. I saw this thing on the table the same night I discovered the HP, the Beauty. And
the NVX2.
The NVX2. But I saw this Toshiba tablet laying on the table, and I was like, what is this little 7-inch guy? And what I say in the hands-on video, the quick tour video, we didn't call it a hands-on because it wasn't, because it's announced ages ago. It looks like somebody took an Nexus 7, reverse engineered it, and then built it with expensive materials. Like it's got this metal back on it.
No, I don't care about that. The screen had me from the first glance.
And the screen, this 7-inch AMOLED panel, couldn't get much in the way of details on it, and the specs we did get were wrong. It was calling it out as a TFT IPS display.
Yeah.
No, it's an AMOLED panel with the most beautiful color saturation you've ever seen.
Indeed.
And they had they were showcasing it with this like green nebula wallpaper, which was so gorgeous. And the device, just the way it felt in the hand, from the display to the way it felt in the hand, it was all such a premium 7-inch Android tablet experience.
It is, but it comes at a cost.
Well, that is the thing. Toshiba has not announced anything specific, but they kept quoting prices. I heard 2 separate quotes from 2 separate people. One of which was, it's going to be in the €400 price range, and then another guy said it was going to be in the €500 price range.
Regardless, let's take the cheapest one.
Right, even if it's €400, what does that translate into dollars? Do we say
$550, $600, anywhere?
The $600 7-inch Android tablet.
No.
Which you may have been able to get people to buy into in a pre-Nexus 7 world. Even then, you wouldn't. But maybe now, forget it.
Yeah, but one thing to Toshiba's defense is that this specific tablet is like preceding the Nexus 7 with like 6 months. So whenever they built this tablet, they thought of its internals and its core features hardware-wise. The Nexus 7 was nowhere to be seen. And of course we knew that Google and ASUS were aiming to reduce the price point because they wanted a cheap, affordable Nexus brand. Right. What Toshiba could do, not too much, is that they could drop the price point a little bit, maybe cut their loss, their gains, their percentage of...
Maybe just try and break even on it.
Go with a little bit of dumping policy, and
yes.
Maybe probably they will sell. It will probably not sell when they are compared one-on-one with the Nexus 7. You'll instantly feel those $400 exiting your wallet. So, but it's a neat little tablet, and if it were any cheaper, I'll probably buy one because it's just that screen is awesome.
And the screen is awesome, and it's not running Jelly Bean. It doesn't have the advantages of a Nexus device, but it has a rear-mounted camera that shoots okay pictures. It has a front-mounted camera. The front-mounted camera is 2 megapixel, which is pretty cool. But the thing is, what would you pay for this? This is a 7-inch premium Android tablet.
Knowing the Nexus 7 is out?
Yeah, like what would you pay?
It is a premium tablet.
It's a premium 7-inch. It's like a deluxe edition 7-inch tablet.
So, say it's... $299 max.
You'd pay max $299,
Yeah.
so you'd pay double the cost of the cheapest Nexus 7
Yes,
for this
I
premium
would.
experience. I would too. Having had my hands on it. If I were just listening to this podcast, I'd say we're both crazy idiots, right? But you have to get your hands on this thing, and I sound like a Toshiba like shill, but whatever. I don't care. I really like it. I like it almost. I don't like it anywhere near as much as I like that HP Envy X2. But for an Android tablet in the 7-inch range, if I'm going to carry something that's not the Nexus 7, from what I saw with my brief time, I would want to carry this.
Yes. And
So. We kind of got to wrap it up here, but we kind of shoehorned this into the Android tablets.
let's talk about
you wanna hit something?
quickly. LG was here.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I know this is okay.
We forgot about
we finished with the topics, and I just remembered. Let's insert this into
That's right.
you guys, listeners. Insert this mentally in the phone section. LG was here.
Yes.
We expected the LG Optimus G. I just mentioned it a couple of minutes ago. That first super phone running the Snapdragon, the Pro chip, which would bring quad core and LTE, and LG teased it. Qualcomm teased it. The phone was not here. What was here though was the Optimus L9, I think, which was the
Yes.
natural follow-up to the L series, which we've seen in Barcelona. Back then it was the L3, L5, L7, and now we have the L9, which is a neat little phone. It's a budget phone, but it has somewhere towards high tech specs, so it's running. It's fast, and the LG UI version 3.0 is definitely an improvement over previous versions.
So I want to talk about that.
Yeah, please do.
I want to talk about it because LG is another brand that suffers in the United States, and it doesn't get much exposure, and I don't have much experience with it. So I keep hearing about this LG skin that like people just always are like, oh, it's such crap and whatever, and it's not pretty. Okay, it's not a very pretty UI.
It's not among the ugliest either. I mean, it's
It's
let's
no.
not say names now.
Right.
Okay.
True. Right. Okay. This is all subjective, but it's not the best UI. But I'm doing the hands-on with this L9, and it's my first experience aside from my quick time with the View using the UI, and it's responsive. I mean, it flies. It's as responsive as the latest iteration of TouchWiz, which is very responsive for a skin.
But it has what TouchWiz doesn't. A truckload of transition effects from home screen to home screen.
Watch the hands-on video if you want to see these in their entirety, but like when you're swiping between home screens, you can select between various things, including like an accordion effect, which is really weird looking.
Or like page turning effect.
Yeah.
Or 3D effects. So
it's all, it's cruft or whatever, it's unnecessary improvements, but I love UI touches, and if you don't want to use these, you can turn them off. You can make it like any other Android phone, right? But those are nice touches. And as is the ability to turn an icon. If you don't like any of the stock icons for like the browser, you can take a picture of whatever with the phone's camera, crop it, and make that picture your launch icon. That's cool. I mean,
true, but still with all of these and the buzz which led up to IFA waiting for the Optimus G, the L9 is just. I feel let down. Yeah. And how about the Optimus View?
How about the Optimus View?
One.
I finally got my hands on it. This is, if you don't remember, listeners, their phablet, the LG phablet that looks like a coaster or a roof shingle or something.
4.3 aspect ratio
screen. Yeah. I felt exactly the same as you, Tony. Tony would tell us, and he said this on the podcast before, where he's like, "Guys, it's not as bad as it looks," and I was like, "Whatever, man. That thing looks ridiculous." And then you hold it, and it's like a graham cracker, but it feels better in the hand than it looks like it would. I would still never carry one, but for somebody who wants a 4:3 aspect ratio at that size, and there's no reason that the phablet market has to be dominated by this one form factor that Samsung is going to dictate. No, it's cool. I'm glad LG is pushing it.
I'm fighting the evil in me, but it will come out. I just hope this thing was announced at MWC.
Yeah,
we saw it in Barcelona. We're seeing it now with upped spec specifications in IFA in Berlin. I just hope LG won't show it off again in February in 2013 in Barcelona with probably, Jelly Bean and 2 gigs of RAM and quad core.
Right.
I want this on the market.
It's coming soon.
Yeah, it has to be on the market. It should have been a long time ago, but this is really last train to catch.
There are rumors that in the States at least, Verizon has partnered with LG to push this as their phablet.
Actually, there were even more recent rumors when when they might have canceled that alongside, like just like T-Mobile might have canceled the original Note. We don't know unless something happens real quick. It is too late. It was launched to combat the first generation Note, and the Note is at second generation, and the first generation competitor is not yet even on the market.
It's like when the touchpad launched to compete with the second iPad. Yeah, you can't do that. Yeah. All right, well, we'll see how that plays out. It would be very sad if that never launched, but there's thank you for remembering that. I didn't want to leave LG out. There is an item that we could not put in any other category, so we kind of put it at the end of the tablets category here. This is the Samsung Galaxy camera. What? So we've been talking a lot about how point and shoots are kind of dying. I don't have any numbers on that. That's not a factual statement. It's just kind of this thing where it's like, digital cameras are probably going to go extinct outside of professional circles.
At least the consumer ones.
And even the prosumer ones will stick around, I think. But consumer grade point and shoots are probably going the way of the dodo, and that's okay because phone cameras are getting really good. But then Samsung is like, you know what? We're not doing anything. We're not doing anything except dominating the smartphone world. Let's do this hobby project and put it under the increasingly watered down Galaxy brand. And they took their WB850, whatever that Samsung camera is called, and slapped Android a big ass 4.8 inch display.
And not just any Android, Jelly Bean.
And through Jelly Bean 4.1.1.
And there are cameras with Jelly Bean. It's crazy.
So we roll up into the trade floor, and I'm like, we're shooting hands-on. It's like, Tony's like, you want to go do that Galaxy camera? And I'm like,
what for?
All right. I mean, you want to? Fine. And we go over there. We find a magenta one, which is fast for some reason becoming our trademark.
Yes.
And I fire this thing up, and you know what? I should give a shout out to the IFA people again. Samsung's promo people who were running the floor were amazing. They were knowledgeable, so friendly. Julian, if you ever listen to this, you're awesome. The guy who showed us the Galaxy camera, I don't remember his name, but he was awesome too. So he shows us all the features, and you can hop on into a custom camera setting screen.
I think that's you're talking about the things which you rotate on the
lens.
I think that's that's as manual setting as it gets.
So what it is, if you haven't seen it, is our hands-on is you can hop into the settings screen, and then it's like a camera's lens with all of its settings rings, like the rings for f-stop,
for focus,
aperture,
for zooming.
Yes, and you can like manually rotate these on the screen using touch movements. And that's really cool, and it would be a gimmick if it didn't work so well, and it did, and it does work well. You think it's a gimmick?
I'm gonna say something right now. I reviewed the PureView 808, and I said that it's a camera with phone functionality. Now this Galaxy camera, it comes with Wi-Fi only / 3G and 4G functionality.
Yeah.
So you snap a picture, you can of course always transfer it via Wi-Fi direct to your tablet or to your phone, but you can upload it if you have a 3G radio to Facebook, to Instagram, to Twitter, you name it.
Right from the camera.
Why didn't they put a speaker on that so that it has phone functionality? I mean, okay, this might be not probably the preferred phone for people, but it was just... I don't think it would have been so difficult to achieve.
It wouldn't have, and so you listeners, this camera is huge. If you watch our hands on it, it's big to hold in the hand. I mean, it's not meant to be terribly portable. It's meant to be like a DSLR replacement, even though the optics aren't as good as a DSLR. I think it's like 12 megapixels, 16 megapixels, whatever. Something in there. So it's big, right? But you're right. They could have put an earpiece and a microphone on it.
At least a speakerphone with microphone.
Or a speakerphone, and people have talked on weirder devices. There's that Nokia Taco phone, right? The 5800 or whatever that was.
I would gladly talk on a 7-inch tablet. So.
Oh yeah, Antonio will talk on a tablet. Like people will talk on stuff. I would even talk on the Galaxy camera if it meant I could carry it around and take cool shots with it. Anyway, yeah, that's a ding against it. But I think my takeaway from my time with the Galaxy camera, and I told this to a Samsung VP who asked me about it, and I meant every word. It's an item I came up to look at. Didn't expect to like it. Sort of expected to maybe in my head make fun of it a little. And within the 2 minutes it won me over. I was like, I can actually see myself carrying this.
I think you'd better prepare because next year the IFA will be doing hands-on videos with Android-powered dishwashers.
It's a good point. Right alongside the WebOS toaster. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. So that's kind of the end of the products we wanted to talk about. Unfortunately, there was nothing from nothing really high end in the tablet space from HTC.
Yeah. Do you have that slight bitter taste in your mouth after this IFA? I mean, it was a show. It was a good show. It was one of those shows which are big and you have to attend if you can. But I was expecting more.
I was too. I think I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised when Samsung carted out some Windows 8 stuff because I was expecting the Galaxy Note 2, but I didn't know what else to expect. So there were some pleasant surprises, but yeah, I really
letdowns too.
It's real letdowns. Like ASUS wasn't even here really.
They had a booth,
a tiny little booth.
If HTC's booth was small, ASUS had ASUS. Intel did what Google does at MWC. There was a huge Intel booth, and all their partners had small micro islands within the huge Intel booth. Yeah. So ASUS was all that. It was 9 square meters, 3 by 3. It's very small. They had like 2 ZenBooks on display, and I think on the other side 2 other ZenBooks on display. So
there were no phones.
And we asked the rep, okay, this is the small booth within the Intel booth. Where's the huge ASUS booth? And there's none.
Like, no, there's not. This is it.
Okay.
Oh God, it was such a disappointment. I wanted to lay my hands on a pad phone, even though it's old. I wanted to, check stuff out.
And let's not forget, ASUS dominated MVC in terms of tablets. They had the Infinity Pad.
ASUS was the talk of the town, man, and then they just weren't here. So whatever. That's cool. That's a tactical decision on their part. I was just personally disappointed.
Who do you think
Motorola had a pretty weak showing.
Was the winner company here?
So let's talk about that. The winner. We were talking about this concept of this winning company. Like who? That's all right. It's all right. We'll survive. Auto traffic, Berlin. We value our automobiles here.
That's part of the fun.
This concept of who won IFA. And this is just a personal take. There's no data to back this up. For company and for device, I think we should each give a response. I think, in a company sense, the clear winner of IFA was Samsung, in that they were the most visible. They had a lot of anticipation built up for this Galaxy Note 2, which they capitalized on, delivered, and then over-delivered. They were like, and here's all this other stuff too, which, well, it's maybe not the best. I don't like the Ativ too much, whatever. But it's still really important, and it's going to sell really well probably. So I think Samsung really brought the heat, and they continue to be in it to win it. I think they were the winner on the company side. You?
If in Barcelona I said that Microsoft was the big loser because there were no Windows phones and no Windows tablets, I think that this year as a company Microsoft is a winner. I mean, I'm seeing this, which could be interpreted in 2 ways. They won, all right, because they had so much exposure on almost every company had a Windows tablet.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this while my heart is shrinking of fear that I just hope they will not flood the market with cheap B category products. No, we love it. I don't think there was a company who matters and who didn't have a Windows 8 on display.
That's true, yeah.
So I think, they had, and if they do what we expect them to do 2 days from now with Windows Phone 8, the announcement with Nokia, they could take away this quarter.
They really could. I mean, it's particularly in the buzz sense. Because, I think maybe Samsung ceded a little bit of ground in that sense. Because they had the Galaxy S3 big blast, right? But the Note 2 is not going to resonate with regular consumers.
True.
It's going to, and of course there are millions of Note users, but a large portion of them are either really hardcore users or they're geeks. And that's not an attack on Note users. Absolutely. By the way, absolutely not. I really like the Note a lot, but it's not a device for everyone. And so the Note 2 is not as buzzworthy, and none of their products were as buzzworthy as they have been. So Microsoft has an opportunity to jump in and steal the limelight. I agree. Yeah.
Even more so that it is just that time. Microsoft is always waiting for the end of the year. And let's not forget, we are waiting for the Surface, their tablet.
Yeah.
Which will be cheap. I predict this. I don't know why, but I predict this.
I hope you're right, but I don't.
It should be the same way like Google's handling things. Here's my Nexus. It's cheap. Nexus 7. If you want something premium, buy the Toshiba 8270. This is what Microsoft should do. This is my Surface. It's cheap. If you want something higher end, buy the Samsung Smart PC.
That would be interesting.
We'll see.
We'll see. Speaking of devices, let's wrap this up with a winner selection. You want to go first, or you want me to?
I'll be longer.
In the device category, you'll be longer.
I'll be longer.
Okay. I think.
Or shorter.
In the same vein as the Microsoft argument, I don't think Samsung was the winner of. While I think they were the winner as a company, I don't think they were the winner in the device category. Neither the Note 2 nor the Ativ devices is really going to capture a lot of imaginations. And they don't really have the opportunity. They're all sequel devices, except for the Ativs, but they're not really terribly remarkable. So I think that HP has a really, really big opportunity to help define a product category with the NVX2. I think it is well built enough to serve as a flagship type device that can really grab a lot of attention in an environment where they're working with a new platform in Windows 8, which is going to be Microsoft's going to be so hungry to dominate with Windows 8.
And they have a huge user base installed
already in Windows 7, right? And in addition, though, it's going to be on the forefront, on the leading edge of this wave crest of a new product category, whether you call it a hybrid or a convertible or whatever. This tablet with keyboard, not keyboard accessory, tablet with keyboard component, that with stock keyboard component. It's the first such device that I think I would use personally, and I think if HP plays it right, and I said this in the piece I wrote today, they have the potential for a really big winner on their hands, and they are desperate to get into the tablet space after the year they lost on the whole touchpad debacle. So that is the device winner for me for IFA 2012, the HP Envy X2, almost purely based on speculation and potential. Tony?
My favorite device, I can't remember exactly the model number, but was the that intelligent vacuum cleaner, which whenever it hit a wall, it returned and
yes, the Roomba.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Agreed. Yes.
To get serious, guys, no, I don't have a clear device winner. I mean, the Note 2 is buzzworthy. It's a great fast phone, but it's not for me, and it's definitely not something groundbreaking as the Note 1 was back in its day. Same goes for all the rest of the phones. I mean, HTC disappointed, LG disappointed, or maybe we expected too much out of them. Then Acer with their phones, they disappointed. So in terms of phones, none. And in terms of tablets, I'm trying to think of one, but I can't identify one with which I should resonate or which I'd say I need to grab this in day one. So as far as hardware goes, I'm leaving IFA without a dream next device. MVC, I always said that I'm gonna get the PureView 808 and I'm gonna get the pad phone. I got the 808, I'm yet to get the pad phone, but I will. I'm leaving IFA and I'm looking forward to MWC because I can't see anything which is exciting. At least not on the show floor.
That's a sobering but realistic perspective.
And sad one.
And sad, it is. But don't misread us, listeners. We've had an awesome time covering IFA. It has been a really great time hanging out with getting to know Tony.
Likewise.
For real. Yeah. Not just talking over Skype every day.
And we will have, by the way, a great video coming up.
Oh, yeah, the wrap-up video.
You should not miss that. It will happen whenever somebody, either Michael or me, get back home earlier. It's going to be you, Michael.
Right, I'll have to upload it once I get the internet back.
Make sure you watch that and you don't miss it.
And watch, if you guys are, if you're bored, if you want to watch a string of videos that are really fun from the trade floor to try and get a sense of what it was like, and also to see these devices, just search for our IFA tag, IFA tag on Pocketnow. And all of them are grouped under there.
Pocketnow.com/tag/IFA.
And it's awesome. So there's a lot of cool devices and probably some that we missed, but we are at time. So Sorry that this episode was a little late, but that's going to do it for us for this special IFA edition episode of the Pocketnow Weekly from Berlin. If you guys out there are social, of course you're social, be sure to follow us on Twitter. Who wrote this crap? No, be sure and follow us on Twitter for real. The official account is at PocketNowTweets. I'm Michael Fisher. As you know, I'm at Captain Two Phones. Tony over there is at Anton Dinadji. ANTONDNAGY. You can also follow us on Facebook and Google+. You can just search Pocket Now there. And if you have a question or a topic suggestion, sorry we didn't get to them on the special edition episode here, but please email us at podcast@pocketnow.com. We love hearing from you. And finally, if you like the podcast, please help us spread the word. Throw us a thumbs up on YouTube. Leave a positive review on iTunes. We'd really appreciate that. All that aside, thanks so much for listening, and stay tuned for more. The next episode of Pocketnow Weekly is coming to your ears next week. Till then, this is Michael Fisher.
This has been Anton Dinadji.
Saying, Auf Wiedersehen.
I'll say tschüss.
No, tschüss. And goodbye. Thanks for listening.